Chair, the meeting is now live.
Thank you very much, Carol. Borodar, everyone. Good morning. Welcome to this Planning, Taxi Licensing and Rights of Way Committee meeting. My name is Councillor Carl Lewis, and I have the pleasure of chairing this meeting today. The first item on the agenda, it is a short agenda. The first item is apologies. Over to Carol for apologies and the roll call, please.
Thank you, Chair. So, Councillor Carl Lewis.
Present.
Councillor Gareth D. Jones. Councillor Tom Colbert has given apologies. Councillor Angela Davis. Councillor Deb Edwards.
Present.
Councillor Hylwyn Hume.
Present.
Councillor Peter James.
Present.
Councillor Adrian Jones.
Present.
Councillor Gareth E. Jones.
Present.
Councillor Karina Kenyon Wade.
Present.
Councillor Jeff Morgan has given apologies. Councillor Gareth Pugh.
Present.
Councillor Edwin Roderick.
Up.
Councillor Elwyn Vaughan.
Up.
Apologies have been given by Councillor Jonathan Wilkinson and Councillor Hugh Williams.
Up.
That's everybody, Chair. And then we've got officers present as well.
Thank you, Carol. We have Claire Lewis present from Rights of Way and Rachel Moore, who's our legal representative on the committee, and Carol Johnson, who's already been mentioned. Apologies, clerk in the meeting. So we're on to the second item on the agenda, which is the minutes from the previous meeting from Thursday, 11th of January. They're pages 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Do we have someone to propose and second them that they were an accurate record of what transpired, please? Councillor Peter, and Councillor, do I have a seconder, please? Councillor Hugh Williams, please. Thank you. And then on to declarations of interest. Do we have anyone as a declaration of interest on the only item on the agenda today?
Chair, yes, please, if I may.
Yes.
This application is in my ward and it's something I have been involved with on a number of stages throughout its process, so I think I'll declare an interest and leave the meeting.
Thank you very much, Vice Chair, Councillor Gareth Jones. Okay, we'll just wait for Councillor Gareth Jones to leave and we'll proceed. Okay. The only item on the agenda is item number 4, application to correct a register of common land. Application to correct the register of common land, sections 22, schedule 2 of the Commons Act 2006, application 23002 CA. Register unit CL061. Take us through this application of removal is Claire Lewis. Over to you, Claire.
Thank you. Excuse me. Thank you, Chair. Can I just check that you can see the screen?
Yes, I can.
Excellent. Thank you. OK, so good morning, members. Today, the application we are considering was received on the 21st of April 2023 from Mr. and Mrs. Griffiths. And it's for the removal of common land from the register. And this is under Schedule 2, Paragraph 7 of the Commons Act 2006. And it is for the entirety of Register Unit CL61 in the community of Llanfair Cyrainen. And this would be for 25.2 hectares, otherwise, or 62.3 acres. The application form is numbered 1 and is found in the appendix to this report. So on the screen now is the application land shown hatched in red. Like I said previously, this is the entirety of MCL 61. This land is identified by the applicants as Brindee land and is farmed with a main holding which is called Wainglapai. Under the Commons Act 2006 Correction, Non-Registration or Mistaken Registration Regulations 2017, publicity must be given to this type of application via the council website and site notice. This was completed on the 7th of June last year, and notices were served on all interested parties in line with statutory requirements. Representations were received from Mr. Hugh Craddock of the Open Spaces Society. The Open Spaces Society does not have a legal interest in the land subject of the application, and so it must be determined by the Council as the Commons Registration Authority. So if we move on to the legal criteria, there is a number of legal requirements to be met under Schedule 2, paragraph 7, as was set out in the report. But for an application to be successful, it must meet all of these requirements. So firstly, the land must be provisionally registered as common land under Section 4 of the 1965 Act. We can confirm this by referring to the register, and we can see that it was provisionally registered on the 29th of June 1968. And this is evidenced by the photo on screen. Moving on to point B, that the provisional registration of the land as common land was not referred to a Commons Commissioner under Section 5 of the Act. Again, the application for registration of common land was not disputed, and so it was not necessary to refer the provision to a Commons Commissioner. This is evidenced by a lack of reference to the Commons Commissioner's decision on the land section sheet. And then point C, whether the registration became final. And it did indeed become final on the 1st of October 1970. Again, this is evidenced on the land section sheet, and that's shown on screen. And you can see entry number 2 with the date underneath. And then moving on, we need to determine whether immediately before its provisional registration, the land was not one land subject to rights of common. Now, a right of common is registered as being attached to land known as Tinnabryn and exercisable over the whole of MCL 61. However, the applicants claim that this was a mistaken registration because the area over which the grazing rights were to be exercised were not correctly identified and recorded as common land. In support of their case, the applicants have referred to a number of documents. Firstly, there is a letter dated the 10th of August 1972 that suggests that the area in which Mr. J.P. Jones intended registering his right on was a different area to that he identified on the plan accompanying his application. And secondly, we have lots of conveyances supplied relating to the application land dating from the 3rd of August 1869. None of these make reference to the land being common or subject to rights of common, but being in private ownership. We also need to consider that immediately before its provisional registration, the land was not wasteland of a manor. For an application under paragraph 7 and schedule 2 of the Commons Act 2006, wasteland of a manor is land that at that time of provisional registration was both part of a manor and open, uncultivated and unoccupied. The applicant needs only to disprove one of the three-part definition, open, uncultivated and unoccupied, in order to establish that the land was not wasteland of a manor as at June 1968. Evidence used to support this includes the extract from the tithe map and apportionment, and this is seen on screen, and you can see this is dated back to 1842. The map identifies the land subject of this application as being enclosures 2989 to 2993 and 2988. The written apportionment describes these enclosures as being part of Brindee. The state of cultivation is described as arable or meadow or pasture. The occupier at the time of the apportionment was noted as being Evan Davis, and the landowner was Sir Watkin Williams Wynne. The land was enclosed, occupied, under cultivation and subject to a tithe payment. Hence, the tithe commissioners did not consider that the application land was waste of the manor as early as 1842. The indenture of conveyance dated 3rd of August 1869 between Mr. George Burgess and Mr. Alan Hodgson contains a schedule of parcel numbers 31 to 37 and refers to a plan numbered 1 showing the application land. Both are now shown on screen. The land parcels are described as close or sheep walk, and close is a term for an enclosed field. By the 1918 indenture of conveyance, Brindee is identified by 3 larger field parcels, 4339, 4343 and 4341. When viewing the land on the OS County Series plan circa 1904, the application land now becomes apparent as field parcel numbers 4339 and 4343. The series of title documents referred to by the applicants provide evidence that in the period from 1842 to 1990, the land subject of this application was owned by various individuals to the exclusion of others, so not part of a manor. Documents do also span the date of provisional registration of this area of common land, which was the 29th of June 1968. We also need to consider whether immediately before its provisional registration, the land was a town or village green within the meaning of the 1965 Act as originally enacted. So the applicant must be able to demonstrate that at the date of provisional registration, the land was not land which has been allotted by or under any act for the exercise or recreation of inhabitants of any locality, land on which the inhabitants of any locality have a customary right to indulge in lawful sports and pastimes, or land on which the inhabitants of any locality have indulged in such sports and pastimes as of right for not less than 20 years. In her letter, Miss Owen states that her father farmed at Wanglapai between 1935 and 1970, and for the whole period he was sole grazier of the Brindee land, and the land was used for grazing only. No person has put forward any evidence that the land was subject to any customary right to indulge in lawful sports and pastimes, or that they indulged in such sports or pastimes in the 20 years prior to the date of provisional registration. We can also see the application land is not shown in the register of town or village greens. Whilst it is difficult to prove a negative, the absence of any claims of use akin to that of a town or village green leads to the conclusion on the balance of probabilities that this legislative requirement has been met. Fourthly, we need to consider whether immediately before its provisional registration, the land was of a description specified in Section 11 of the Enclosure Act 1845. Section 11 describes several classes of land that are not true common land, including regulated pastures. No enclosure award has been identified that includes the area of land subject to this application, and no other evidence has been put forward to indicate that the land subject of this application was of a description specified in Section 11 of the Enclosure Act, at the time immediately prior to its provisional registration as common land. We can therefore summarise The representations from the Open Spaces Society concluded that there was no reason to object to the application being granted. The first three legal criteria are matters of fact that are evidenced from the Register of Common Land itself. As we've seen, the register records that the land was provisionally registered under Part 4 of the Commons Registration Act 1965, that the registration became final, and that it was not referred to a Commons Commissioner. On the basis of the information put forward by the applicant and the documents already in the keeping of the Commons Registration Authority, it is reasonable to assume on the balance of probabilities that immediately prior to the provisional registration, the application land was not subject to any rights of common, was not waste of a manor, a town or village green or land of a description specified in Section 11 of the Enclosure Act 1845. It is therefore considered that this application meets the criteria set out under paragraph 7 of the Schedule 2 of the Commons Act 2006, and that the land subject of the application was wrongly registered as common land. Chair, I'm now going to pause to see whether any members have any questions on the report before we move to the recommendation.
Thank you, Claire. Just trying to unmute myself. Members, do you have any questions to Claire? You could raise your hands if you do. I'll just pause momentarily. If not, we'll go to the recommendation as Claire's pointed out. Okay, over to you, Claire, for going to your recommendation, please.
The recommendation is that application 23-002CA be granted as made, and that 25.2 hectares of land as shown hatched red on the plan at Appendix 3 be removed from the Register of Common Land.
Okay, thank you very much, Claire, for that report. Members, do you have any further questions, or do I have a proposer or seconder to go along with the recommendation, or something else to the fact?
I'm happy to
Is that
propose.
Councillor Howland Hume there? I can see. Councillor Howland Hume, please.
Yeah, no, I propose to go with the officer recommendation. Thank you.
And I believe Councillor Edwin Roderick.
Yeah, I'm happy to second, Chair.
Thank you very much. Okay, we'll put it to the vote. Carol, if we could have a voting slip in the chat. It has been proposed and duly seconded to go along with the officer's recommendation, which is on the screen there for everyone to see. There we are, members. Voting slip is in the chat. We click at it in the usual manner and vote as you will. If there is anyone that hasn't been able to vote with a voting slip, please indicate and we'll come to you for a verbal vote.
Chair, I've got 11 votes coming through and there are 12 members in the meeting. So Councillor Angela Davis, there's nothing come through for you at the moment.
No, it's sorry, Chair. It's not letting me in. It's asking me for security data to get into the app to get the sign. So I'll just happy to vote.
So your verbal vote, Councillor Angela?
Yeah, I'm in favour. Support the recommendation.
Fine, thank you very much. So, Chair, everybody has now voted, so that's 12 members, and all members have voted as per the officer's recommendation.
Thank you very much, Carol. That's great. We can now conclude this short meeting. Just a reminder to members, Peter Morris will be bringing his planning performance report to the next meeting, along with Gemma Buffton will be bringing along the 2 enforcement officers for us to get familiar with. So it's up to you, members, whether you come in person to the chamber, but hopefully we'll have those 2 new members of staff for you to question and to get familiar with. So I think they're 2 important roles. I think you will all agree. I got a few hands up. Councillor Hugh Williams, please.
Yeah, Chair, just to conclude that last report as well, I think we should give Claire some credit. There's a lot of research and the like that goes into that presentation, and it was so well presented. We obviously all voted with her, but I think it should be recorded that our thanks to Claire.
Indeed, indeed.
Yeah.
If we could have that recorded, please, Carol, in the minutes. Rightly
Chair,
so.
thank you.
Councillor Howland-Hume, please.
Yes, I want to concur with Councillor Hugh, actually. It was a very clear presentation, and the decision, because of her presentation, it made it very easy to determine the outcome. Thank you, Claire, very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Claire. Yep, so just as a reminder for members for the next meeting, those 2 items will be additional to the agenda. So thank you all. Carol, could we have the date of that next meeting, please, just for the record?
Yep, Chair, the next meeting's on the 14th of March.
14th of March. Okay, everyone, thank you for your time. I know it's a short meeting, but we had to get this one done. It was ready to go, so we had to have the meeting, hence it's online, and the papers were online as well. So thank you all for your time. Hope you have a good day. I know it's raining out there, but enjoy your day.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair.
I know.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Thank you, Chair.